So hi class, for today, we'll be discussing about our second topic in the disciplines and ideas in the applied social sciences, mainly communication as a discipline. So communication came from the Latin word communicare, which means to share. To communicate is to share, pagpapasa ng mensahe, ng information, and any other things that you want to convey to the recipient of the message. So, by definition, it's the act of conveying meanings, from one entity. That entity can be an individual, a business unit, a small group, a large group, an organization, the government, to another through the use of mutually understood signs and semiotic rules. Mutually understood, ibig sabihin, ikaw na magpapasa ng mensahe, magko-communicate, ay parehas, no? Parehas yung gusto mong iparating mula, rather, parehas at naiintindihan, okay, nung taong makaka-receive ng mensahe, makakabasa ng mensahe. Signs, pinaka-clear na example is language, no? Letters, alphabets, words are signs. And by semiotic rules, semiotic meaning the study of signs and symbols and their use or interpretation is, we'll try to focus on, or we'll talk about the semiotic rules by trying to understand the notion of the sign or object, the signifier, and the signified. So, an important factor of understanding signs and its meaning, interpretation, is that each sign, bawa ito, yung sign, it always have this signified and signifier. The signified is the mental concept. Kapag ito yung imagery na nasa isip natin. Okay? So pag sinabi natin halimbawa McDonald's, ito yung imagery na pumapasok sa isip natin. Okay? When we talk about the signifier, so it's the things that give meaning or word to the image. So when we talk about this image, this mental concept, ito yung lumalabas. Okay? Ito yung lumalabas. Similarly, pwedeng McDonald's mismo or French fries or Big Mac, and so on and so forth, na related dun sa gustong iparating na sign. Gustong iparating ng sign. And this one is the signified, ito yung sign, peace sign, the signified, and it signifies peace, pagpapakyut, or we're good, we're okay. Ganun yung semiotic rules. Understanding the notion of the signified and the signifier when it comes to interpreting a specific sign and symbol. Dapat malinaw sa kinakausap natin, sa receiver na mensahe, kung ano yung nais na iparating. Okay? Malinaw yung mensahe, yung gustong i-interpret dito. Because the goal of communication is to convey information, iparating yung information or mensahe, and the understanding of that information. In order for you to have proper communication, dapat naiintindihan ikaw na nag-send at yung taong makaka-receive ng mensahe from one person or group, and vice versa. So, when it comes to the scopes of communication, okay, malawak ang sakop ng communication, areas of communication. Hindi lang natin napapansin, pero ito yung bumubuo talaga ng buhay natin, ating pakikipagkapwa-tao. So, personal life, us communicating with our elders, with our family, with our close friends, ganyan. Sa personal life, iba yung ways na pakipag-communicate natin. Much better when it comes to the personal life, merong actual, oral communication, oral or face-to-face personal communication. Okay? And similarly, we use specific words to address individuals na importante sa buhay natin. We provide say kuya, ate, tito, tita for those who are older, nanay, tatay, mama, papa, daddy, ganyan, or mommy, or even to your loved ones, B, ganyan, baby, and those specific signs, no, portray a specific or have specific meanings that both of you, ikaw na nagsasabi nun at yung nakakarinig, ay naiintindihan. When it comes to social life, lalo ngayong panahon na to, na nagkaroon ng pandemic, we mainly our social life or communication in our social life was mainly revolving around social media. Okay? And social media, social messaging apps played an important role on how we communicate, no, how it changed the landscape of communication. Even state of affairs, no, the government addressing the nation through SONA, sa businesses iba, meron mas gumagamit ng email, memo, correspondences, no, in order to convey, send the information to its recipients. Sa management, iba din yung, or pwedeng interrelated sila, but in management, merong hierarchy, mas kita yung hierarchy, the bosses, the superiors, and the rank and files, no? At iba yung way na communicate. There's always respect in that. Industrial relations, international affairs, on how we communicate, no, with other countries, especially when making moves in terms of territorial affairs, no? And even religion. Sa religion pa lamang, may mga simbolo sa isang relihiyon na naiintindihan yung meaning, naiintindihan yung ginagawa, ritual, pero sa iba, hindi naiintindihan kasi iba yung religion. Within this, at least 8 lang to, no, pero madami pa talaga, sectors, iba't iba yung paraan ng pakikipagkomunika ng bawat tao na nakapaloob dito. And each follow specific signs and semiotic rules, no, or symbols, understanding, interpreting of those symbols, na may specific focus. At hindi lahat na nag-a-apply sa isang scope ay pwedeng mas nag-a-apply dito, no? Hindi ganoon. Hindi merong mga specific guidelines or formalities, no, na nakapaloob within a specific scope of communication na mas akma dun sa scope na iyon or sector na yun ng lipunan. So when it comes to the communication process, ito yung kadalasan nangyayari. Ito yung rather typically na nangyayari. Hindi lang natin syempre napapansin. This action, me hosting this, creating this pre-recorded lecture for you to view is an example of a communication process. So bakit ito ginagawa? Always start with the motivation to provide you lectures beforehand, before the actual sync class, para at least meron na kayo idea. And then, pag meron na kayong motivation, message composition, gagawin nyo na. Okay? Through encoding. So, next step is always the encoding. Halimbawa, pwedeng motivation is kinausap kayo. May nag-chat sa inyo, nakakilala nyo. So, next option nyo is, pwede siyang replyan. Okay? So, next step is the encoding. Okay? Encoding can be in oral form, no? Spoken form, digital, written. Because it's the process of putting thought into symbolic form. Symbolic form is language, okay? Which can be understood by another person to whom the sender wants to communicate the idea. It's important lagi na nagkakaintindihan when it comes to conveying the information. Then, take note, this first 2 steps ay nakapaloob sa sender. Next step is transmission through a medium. The medium can be, again, the oral communication is the medium itself, or through digital networks, through emails, through social media, through social messaging apps, to pen and paper, ganyan, through ads, billboards, printed ads, pamphlets, posters, all of these are medium. So, through this medium, reception and reassembling of encoded message is being created or being processed. So, reception in a way na makikita nung dito sa media mabubuo. Malalaman mo kung na-receive din yung mensahe. Okay? And by step 5 to 7, decoding of the message. Decoding in a way that It's the process by which the receiver assigns meaning to the symbols encoded by the sender. So after ma-receive yung message mo via that specific medium, i-decode ito ng recipient, no, ng mensahe. So kung naiintindihan niya, kung alam niya yung pinaparating mo, mabilis niya magagrasp yung nais mong sabihin. Okay? And then response to the message, response can be is the reaction of the receiver after being exposed to the message. Response can be an actual emotional response. It can be a reply or a non-reaction. Diba? Wala lang, nakaganon lang. Or wala lang pala, walang reaction. It is a response, no? Then feedback naman is the amount of response the receiver that reaches to the sender. So importante na may feedback when it comes to sending, no? Nowadays, feedback can be as simple as a like, react, an emoji, to that means na naiintindihan nung recipient yung ipinarating na mensahe. In the business setting, it's important to provide actual reply, no? Acknowledgement receipt yung tawag doon. Especially when sending important emails, na acknowledge mo yung sinend sa'yo para at least malinaw dun sa nag-send na naintindihan mo at na-receive mo. So ito yung actual na process. It always starts with the sender encoding the message. The message passes through the media na pinili, decoding by the receiver, providing a response leading to a feedback, no, to the sender. So in this case, the media is the specific communication channel through which the message moves from sender to receiver. Gaya naman nabanggit ko kanina, can be oral or spoken, digital, written. Those are all media na ginagamit ito para ma-move yung mensahe mo, padala yung mensahe mo. In my case, I'm using YouTube, no, to send this pre-recorded lecture to you as my recipients. Noise, on the other hand, kasi isang elemento rin ito, 8 elements kasi talaga yon. Isang elemento ng communication process. It's the unplanned or distortion during the communication process that results in the receivers getting a different message from the sender. So the thing with the noise, it can be a simple typo error, can be an actual misunderstanding or actual siguro a distortion in the message that can lead to receiver getting a different message, hindi nagkakama-cross yung mensahe mo. As such, it's important to understand na when it comes to communication, may 7 principles tayong dapat sundin. First is the principle of clarity. Sinasabi nito that the idea to be transmitted should always be easily understandable or in understandable language para yung receiver naiintindihan niya. Parehas kayo ng pagkakaintindi sa mensahe. So kung para maiwasan yung mga hindi miscommunication, hindi pagkakaintindihan lalo sa personal life, it's important na clear yung mensaheng gustong iparating. Importante na may clarity. Same yung understanding nyo. Same yung sense dun sa mensaheng gustong iparating. Same with attention. The receiver of the message should understand the message. Thus, speaker, yung nagpapadala, should arouse the interest of the receiver so that the receiver pays proper attention. Halimbawa, magpo-post ka ng ad about you selling something, it's important na malinaw. Nasa caption kung anong gusto mong itinda. At the same time, kaya gumagamit tayo ng larawan when it comes to posting some ads, ganyan. Importante yung visual imagery para ma-caught yung attention. Using those is a way to communicate. Diba? Kaya nga importante yung ads kung striking yung ads. Lalo ngayon sa YouTube, if you're watching, hindi kayo naka-premium, sobrang iba yung labanan when it comes to a 5-second striking ad para sa kanya, para ma-communicate agad yung mensahe ng produkto. At thus, it's important din siguro na the message should have something that makes the um, recipient get the attention that it needed. No? Feedback is also important in a way that speakers must have feedback confirmation. Kahit like yan, no? Kahit anong react button or reaction yan, kahit emoji yan, as long as it has a certain feedback para malaman nung sender na nagkakaintindihan kayo. Naintindihan niya kahit paano yung gusto mong iparating. Similarly, principles of informality in a way that informal communication plays a dominant role in spreading information. Kahit sabihin natin na formality is important, especially sa business, no? When it comes, but in a classroom setting, mas madali mag-convey ng naiintindihan mo kung halimbawa informal yung way na pagsalita mo or you're using personal examples or parang humor to get your point across. Okay? Informal information plays an important role sa pagpapakalat ng information. Consistency, wherein communication should always be consistent with the policies, plans, programs, and objectives of the organization or the individual and not in conflict with them. If you are doing something, be consistent. If you're saying something, be consistent. No? Because inconsistencies, mapaiba-iba ng sinasabi, can lead to confusion or some point chaos, lalo kung nasa isa kang organization. If you're a leader of an organization, dapat kung ano yung sinabi mo noong una, consistent throughout. In order, para magkaroon na hindi mag-lead sa confusion, hindi pagkakaintindihan. Then we have timeliness. Any delay in communication process will serve no purpose except to make the messages mere historical documents as it loses importance and effectiveness. Kung may kailangan kang isabihin sa isang tao on this specific moment, sabihin mo. Okay? Kasi pag lumipas na yung panahon para masabi mo yan, mawawala na yung saysay, no? Kahit sabihin at least may labas ko lang, kung may gusto ka talaga ma-achieve at the end, hindi mo na ma-achieve yun. Kasi nga, if you're not doing this at the right moment, those are just mere historical accounts na lamang na pwede mo lang balikan for the sake na nasabing nagawa mo. Pero yung original purpose, hindi mo na achieve, hindi mo na communicate. Then, adequacy. When we talk about adequacy, this demands that information being sent should be adequate and complete in all respects. Incomplete or inadequate information are more dangerous rather than to give no communication. Why? Because it's open to be misinterpreted, no? Ginagawan, binabago yung information na dumarating. Halimbawa, may nagkwento sa'yo, uy, may namatay dun sa may isang barangay na Tokhang. Okay? But hindi mo alam kung sino, hindi mo alam kung paano, hindi mo alam kung bakit, kung natukhang ba talaga. Because inadequate information delays action at the same time destroys understanding and relations. Okay? Miscommunication. Okay? Pag kulang-kulang yung balita, dun nawawala yung trustworthiness or respect dun sa tao. Pag kulang-kulang yung kanyang kinukwento. Okay?